One of the other important thing that we know is executing commands. So now, until now, we were just seeing some essentials on how do you open a file, and before that we saw some subroutines and then some conditions. All those things are fine, but the other way, if you see, how will you get some data? So always, either I can get a data from a runtime where a user will be passing, or we will be getting a data from a file where I can read and I can store something, or there is other way of getting the data is by executing some commands. So when I say commands, pretty much in Linux or Windows, if you're running anything, you will be running some manual commands, and that is the reason instead of running manual commands, you can club these commands together and call a script. So if there is any requirement, if you want to run any OS commands or in fact any scripts itself, then there's a different way of executing them in Perl. That means pretty much now anything that you want to run, say this is a command prompt. If you want to run any command, how do you want to run? So the same way, if you want to run them through Perl, then we have certain built-in functions using which we can achieve that. So the very first function that we have for executing commands is system. Now system is a function where if you give any command to it, it will be executing. Now for example, say I want to run this command. If I say ls, what will happen? It will try to list everything whatever I have in my current directory, right? So I can use the same thing to execute in Perl also. So let me create a file. Okay. Okay. So now here, if I say system and in the square bracket, any command that I want to run. Okay. Now just see the output. So first it is executing the print, and then the ls command is getting executed, and then the final end of script. So now here if you see, I'm executing this. The same way I can use any command that I want to run from the command prompt, or whatever that I'm able to run from the command prompt, we can run the same thing here too. So see, the same thing, ls ifnl, if I do, I'll be getting. So like this, you can use system to run any command that you can run. In fact, even if you want to call another script from this, like this Perl should be calling another Perl script or some SQL script, I mean SQL database script or shell script, anything that you want to call, you can still call from here. System is a function. So whatever that you can run on the command prompt, the same thing system will run for you. But the difference is it will be running through the script. You are not running it directly like this, but the script internally is running this. That is the difference between system and the regular way of running it. But now this way you can run the command, but pretty much if you want some output to be taken from this, it will not happen. Now, what do you mean by that? Say, for example, now I want to run. So, WC is a command which tells you the number of lines that you have in the output. So, now if you see in this, there are 9 files output. Okay, and that is what I'm trying to do. So, I'm doing a ls and then I'm taking the output of that and I'm trying to run one more command which will count the number of files that we have, and it is giving us the output as 9. So if you have a requirement, say that I want to count the number of files and I want to print saying that, hey, in this directory, you have this many files. So let's take a simple example where if you give input to this script, okay, I will give any directory or any specific directory that it wants to run. So the script should tell how many files are there in that directory. So now to do it, I can run this command, right? Now to do that, pretty much I need to print on the screen how much of files are there. So what will happen if I say here the same thing? See, it's just printing me 9. So what does it mean? It is just running the command as if I'm going to run here on the command prompt. But when I'm running in the Perl, what is needed is now I need to print the output saying that the number of files in the current directory is 9. That is what I want to print. So how will you print that? Now for printing it, I need the value that I have to get from it, right? So you're getting what I'm trying to say. So my requirement now is I'm not just interested to run this command, that is lswc-l. Basically what I need is I want to get the output from this command and then print saying that, hey, the number of files in the current directory is 9. So I want the output exactly like that. So how will you get it? Now, in order to do, I need to store this value somewhere and then I can say that, right? Suppose if I store this output of whatever you're getting 9 into some variable or scalar variable, then I can say number of files, I mean print number of files in this directory is dollar some variable name so that it will get. But what will happen is when you use system will just execute the command. That means, say if I'm using some variable here and I'm trying to capture the output of what it is giving. Okay, so now if I say print number of files in the current directory is $var. So see what is happening. It says it is 0. That means system is not returning a value. Or in turn, what system does is system will just execute the command just like what you are executing on the normal way, but within the script. So that means now when you call this line, it will print. When you call this line, it will just execute this line and it will proceed further. Whereas system will not return any value that you are running from this. So ideally system will return 0 or 1 based on how or what is the output that you're getting. That means if you get 0, that means system was able to run the command successfully. The same thing, if you're not able to run the command successfully, then system will give a non-zero value. Say, let me run some different thing. So I'm running some command. See, what does it mean? It means that it says the file is not there. This is what I did. So when I ran like this was an output. So that is what it is giving. Now, because of this, if you see, the command was not successfully ran because there was an error. So the same thing system returns. So the system returned a non-zero value. Again, 512 is an error code. So anything which is non-zero is considered as an error. So here system returns that non-zero value to this variable, and that is what you're getting. So we have to use system only when I don't have anything to capture. Say for example, I want to run some script, but that's it. I don't want to do anything. So those kind of cases, system will be useful. But if at any point of time you don't just want to run the command, but you also want to capture the output. So going back to my requirement, as I said, now earlier I said I want to run this. Not only I want to run, but I want to capture the output now. Say if I say lswc-l, it was saying me 9. So I want to capture that. So at any point of time, if you want to capture this, then system is not the right option, because system, when you execute something, it will just run the command at that point of time and it will not return. But if you want both the things, that is, you want to run the command and also to capture the output, then you have to use something called as backticks. So backticks is nothing but on your keyboard, just below the escape button, or the numbers 1 2 3 that get started right before the number 1 2 3 on the left hand side, that is on the left hand side of number 1, you will see a character. So that is called as backticks. Okay, so if you give any command within this backticks, then the Perl will not only run it, but also it will try to give the output back. Okay, that is how you can capture the output. So now the same thing here, if I say $where, so here if I say like this, so then note the difference. This is the backticks, and instead of using the system command, I am giving the command in the backticks. So now what will happen is, first, whatever that you have on the right hand side will get evaluated. So in that case, you are specifying a command to be executed. So what Perl will do is, first it will run this command, and then after executing the command, it will not just print the command on the screen directly, but it will execute it internally within the script and then get the output of this command, and whatever the output you are getting here will be stored into this variable called $where. Okay, now see the difference, the same thing. So the first 9 that you're getting is from this, because system, it just executes one by one, but the next line when you say variable, it is not only running this, but it is passing this values by capturing it to the $where, and that is when you are exactly getting the output. So getting the difference between backticks and system. So backticks and system both serve the same purpose, but the difference is, when you run system, system will just execute the command normally as you are executing on the command prompt. So you can see the output of the command that it is executing on the screen. That is the reason it is not capturing anything. It is just directly executing on the screen. But on the other way, if you have a requirement wherein I don't want to just run the command, but I want to run the command and capture. So that is when it will not be printing anything on the screen, but it will be capturing everything, and you can use it to store inside a variable. Okay, so that is a major difference, wherein using backticks, you can capture the output, but using a system, you cannot capture the output. Okay, so that is the difference between these two. But now, earlier, if you saw, when I ran system, it was giving me what? It was returning a value called 0 or 512, based on which we could know that whether the command ran successfully or not. Correct? But now sometimes you might have to require something called as the output here. Now you are getting an output. Now by this, at least it is quite simple that we know that the command was successful. That is why we got the output as 9. But many times you might be running some command and you will not be sure whether you are getting the right output. That means you are not sure whether the command ran successfully or not. So how do you evaluate those things? Because let us do the same thing here. I'm just giving some junk file name. Okay, so let's run this. Here, you see, it is not running because there is no such file called as or something I gave. And here, it is not working properly and it is failing to run. So how do you know whether this command was run successfully or not? So for those kind of situations wherein you are running on a backticks, whereas you still want to know, then there is a way called dollar question mark. Now that means, okay, now there is a variable called dollar question mark that will give us the exit status of the previous command that you're run. Okay, so if you say the last command which has been run is of the status 0, that means any command that you ran before this command was successful. The same thing if I say something, now if you see, it's a failure case. So here if I say echo dollar question mark, it will return a non-zero value. Okay, so this way you can always cross check whether any command that you have run is successful or not. So the same way, how do you do it here? So what you can do is either you can run this, or you can once again put a dollar question mark here. Okay, so you can simply use another variable, and here you can say dollar question mark. So these are, some shortcuts that you might be using, but if not, pretty much you can run the command and you can use. So if there is any need wherein you want to cross check the status of any command that you're running, not only Perl, in general, all you have to do is use this dollar question mark and you will be able to get the output. If not, in general, the difference between system and backticks is system will just execute the command, but backticks will execute and capture the output. So that's the major difference. Okay. Now we have one more function for executing called exec. Now, this is not of much use, wherein if you actually see, either system will be used or backtick. Again, it's completely dependent on the need. If you want to run something, but you don't want to capture the output, simply use system. But if you want to run and capture the output, then you use backtick. But exec also does the same thing, that is, it will run the command, but the difference here is exit will come out of the script after running the command whatever you have said. That means it is just like the exit option. So if you remember sometime back, we saw a function called exit. So what will happen when I call exit? It will come out of the script from that point. Now if you say exec, exec, it will do both the things. That is, it will first run whatever command that you have given, and then it will immediately come out of the script. Okay, so here, see, now if I run the same thing, exec, okay, ls, you see it is running. Okay, it's just similar to system, but what happening is it is not printing this. That is because it just comes out of this particular place. So that is the difference, wherein it is running a command, but it is not proceeding further. The same thing if I give here. Okay, I'm just giving the very first line as exec. So as soon as it runs the ls command, it will come out. It will never even go to this execute or print statement. Okay, see, it just ran and come out. So that is the difference, where sometimes if you have a scenario where you want to run some command, but you don't want to proceed anything else in the script, then you will be running this. So pretty much for some scenarios, you might have to send a mail to someone if something fails, but you don't want to proceed after that. So that is when you can use this in the if condition. So in the if condition, you can say, right, generally we will say if else and give some print statement. So instead of that, if you have a need to run some script or run some specific command as the last one, then you can do. So what will this do is, now it will not only run the command whatever you're giving, but it will completely come out of the script itself. Okay, so that's the major difference between these three. Pretty much exec is not going to be used, either system or backtick will be done, but still some workflow requires exec also, so that you should be knowing on a need basis we should be able to not only run but also we can come out of it. Getting it on how to use system and backticks? So like this, any command is
Yeah,
the same.
Yeah,
Okay, so pretty much coming to the last thing. So if you remember, there are many special variables that we were using, right? So to name couple of them, we used. Can you say something? What we used? Okay. So if you remember, we used, first thing is there was argv, right? What was this used for? Argv is a special variable which stores the command line arguments whatever we used. And then we saw at the rate underscore, and this is something which contains the arguments that you have passed to a subroutine. Right, now other than that, we also saw some special variables like dollar underscore. Now what is this? Especially when we were using, I mean, when we are going through the file handlers, we saw this. So dollar underscore is a special variable which stores the value of that iteration or on the loop, and this will be mainly useful when you are going through some file parsing line by line. Okay, so dollar underscore is that special variable which contains the default value of that iteration. Now, other than that, we also saw dollar question mark, wherein dollar question mark is the written code or the status of the previous command that the system was able to run. Now, along with this, we also have certain other special variables like dollar zero. So dollar zero within your script will give you the name of the script. So at any point, if you say dollar zero, it will be giving you the name of the script. And for some cases here, you will be running some command, but or you will be running some other specific built-in function or your own function, and there will be some system error that it is generating, but you cannot capture what exactly it is. So that is when, if you use this dollar bang, it will give you the system error whatever that its Perl is trying to generate, so that you can know exactly what error the system is trying to give us. So in few cases you might be requiring it. Okay, and then dollar dollar. So dollar dollar is nothing but the process ID of that script which is being using, because every command or every script that you run internally creates a process, and that is how the operating system will be trying to capture them. Now at any point, if you want to know what is the process ID that is being used by the script, then you can use dollar dollar. Okay, so let me show you quickly this two, dollar zero and dollar dollar. Now if you say print, the script we are executing is dollar zero. Okay, and now then we need dollar dollar, right? So here if I say print process being used by the current run is dollar dollar. Okay, and what I want to do is, um, because what will happen is, as soon as you run, the script will print and it will come out, right? So the process will not be available once you complete the script. So let me make it to keep waiting at some point. So what I'll say is print, please press enter to exit the script. Okay, and I'm just going to put something into here. So what I'm doing is I'm just trying to get a value. That's it. So what this will do is it will still be running the process and it will wait for the user to run. Okay, so if the user doesn't press enter, the script is not going to complete. It will be still running. So it will be easy for us to see the process so that I can show you. That's the reason I just came here. Okay, so now let's see that. So if you see, the name of the script is 8.pl. So that is what your $0 is going to give you. Whereas $dollar is nothing but the process ID which the script is using for this run, and this will be varying every time. Okay, now if you try to check, there's a command called ps-ef which will list you all the process that is available on the screen. I mean on your system currently. If you see, there are so many things running, right? So here, if you wanted to know the process exactly, it is 1749, right? So if you try to grep, it will not be available. This is not the actual process. This is nothing but the grep, because even when you run grep, internally there is a process created. So it is trying to show you that. But other than that, it is not the Perl script that what we are running. That is because this process is no more existing. It completed. So that is the reason I just gave it as a standard input, because now it is seeking a user input. So now if you see, the process is still running. That means there is a new process and it is still running, and the process ID of that is 1758. Now if you grep for that, you see this is the process. So this is the process called 1758, and what command that you exactly ran is Perl 8.pl. This is what we ran. So you can see it. Now as soon as I press enter, it will complete and the process will not be available. Okay, so that's the reason I just gave a stop there. So now we know every time when the script runs, a new process will be used to run that. And right now, if it is, see, it is 1764. So here it is the script that you're running. Okay, and you can try to get the complete details of all those process that you're running. So whatever that you want to know, right? So you can get the tree. Suppose if this is calling another process, you can literally see inside what it is doing. So it is quite useful to track whether a script is running or not running using this. So you can make sure that you can just print on the screen or store somewhere on what is the process that it is using. Because ideally what will happen is, if you're running some background process for a longer time, you won't be knowing whether it is running or not. Because if you're expecting some output from it and if it doesn't happen, how will you debug? So to debug, one of the best thing is, if you know what was the process ID that it was using, you can use that on the other side, wherein you can do some system administration and find out what exactly happened to the process, whether it ran or it is in the hung state, or some other input is breaking because of that, so that you can go through the process and try to find out whether it is really running or there's some problem that happened. So that's how this special variables will be useful. Getting it?